Hello and welcome everybody to our talk about the collaboration between librarians and researchers. My name is Sabine and I'm from the University Library of the University of Zurich.
And I'm Eli Harriss, I'm from the University of Oxford in the UK. So by way of introducing our topic today, I'm using the introduction to a paper by Lackey et al. From 2019 about systematic review services in an academic health sciences library. So they say that there's a role for librarians to collaborate with researchers on systematic reviews to produce high quality, accurate systematic reviews, as highlighted in bold here. Sorry, my heart is racing. That is so unpleasant. Wow. Now, I'm going to refer to my notes. So they state here also, the green parts, that this requires significant time and extensive knowledge on our part. So we wanted to talk about and raise awareness about what else this work can require from us. So I'm using the total pain model, which was developed by Cicely Saunders, who founded the hospice movement in the UK. Now, her total pain theory encapsulates the whole idea about what happens when someone experiences pain. So physically, practically, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. So I'm using this total idea to think about total collaboration. So just to skip the technical stuff, we can think about the practical and physical aspects of our work. So that might happen when we meet a researcher to talk about their research project in person, and we might go through these reference interview questions, so asking them why they come to us and what we can help them with, for example. So I put all this together because Sabine gave me the presentation title and I just ran with it. I put all this together to think about a particular case. So I wanted to talk about the case of a PhD student who came to see me. Well, he was sent to see me in late 2018 when I was actually going through a really horrible breakup. And he was told to do the systematic review. He'd been working in industry for the last 10 years and he hadn't done any academic study. He didn't know what a systematic review is. And I had to really coach him and mentor him through the whole process over a couple of one-to-one training sessions, which allowed us to develop the protocol for the review. We talked about and we developed the search strategy for Medline or Embase, and then we went through the whole process of translating the search for the other databases, and I sent him off with the results. So this case required a lot of time on my part and a lot of pastoral and emotional support. And I had to regulate my emotions, as I'm trying to do right now, to stay calm with him so that he didn't kind of read and reflect my body language because I was picking up on his anxiety. So at some point I had to distance myself from him and just wait until he'd gotten through to the draft of his systematic review, which was then published as a journal article last year. Okay, so that's kind of the practical side of it and some of the emotional and the social side, because this reader became a good friend because we'd spent so much time together. So on the positive side, we had a lot of, there was a lot of collaboration. We produced this journal article. They've now got their doctorate. We were able to use our skills. I used a lot of my mentoring, pastoral care skills, as well as information literacy skills. But it took a lot of time, and I learned that we needed, as a team, to develop a systematic review policy that we could show to researchers to say, okay, here are the boundaries. This is what we can do for you. This is what we can't. And that's been really, really helpful. So that is my case.
My case is a bit different. We have a different model at our university, what we offer to researchers. We either offer them like free counseling for an hour or so, that's usually the students, or we do the whole search strategy and searches for them, and we charge for that. So in my case, a dentist emailed me. He had a private, or still has a private practice in Zurich, but he's affiliated with another university. But for some reason he wanted to use our research service and not theirs. He mentioned that he had done a systematic review before. He sent me a very preliminary search, something he had done in PubMed. He sent a study protocol and some key references. And now what I would usually do is take all the material, develop a first search in Embase, and usually when I'm happy with the results and the amount of references, then I will just translate to the other databases. And while the final result would be a EndNote file that I would send back to the researcher. Well, not in this case. In this case, we had a lot of emails and phone calls back and forth until we agreed on a search strategy. Now, why did this happen? Well, afterwards you always know better, so there were quite some misunderstandings. As I said, I'm used to just take whatever material I'm given and sort of report back the final result, but this person wanted to be more involved in developing the search strategy. And also I like to start with searching in Embase, because this will give me a good feeling about how many results I can finally expect once I add the other databases. But he mentioned he didn't understand how Embase worked, so he wanted it done in PubMed. I almost never use PubMed because I prefer Medline Orbit, but well, there we were, PubMed. And he was quite happy with his preliminary search because it was very precise, but obviously I wanted to do a much more sensitive search. So there were some misunderstandings, and so what could I do better in the future? Probably I should have explained our workflow. I could have asked about his expectations. That would have helped. And afterwards, I would like to discuss cases like this where it doesn't go so well with the team, but this didn't happen. So now we have reorganized our library. We are not much bigger team now. It's not just the medical library, it's the whole university library. And then I asked my new colleagues, what do you do when you get a question from a researcher? How do you handle that? And what skills and knowledge are required? And from, these are not many, these are maybe 15 answers, but what I gathered is, okay, a question comes in, first thing you do is figure out, do I understand what the person wants from me? If not, you go back, you ask them, maybe meet them, clarify the situation, and so on. Once you know what they want, you decide, can I answer this myself, or do I have to pass this on to another department or another specialist? If you're sure that it's your task to do that, the next thing is, can I answer this question right away, or do I need some time to think about it, or do some digging myself, whatever, or in my case it will be to do the search and then provide the final answer to the researcher, or maybe appoint them to a website. Or we often have people who don't find material, so we can show them where to find that, or these things, so we can show them how to help themselves. And very cleverly, one person wrote that sometimes they would ask for feedback, something that I usually forget. I think when people come back to me or to us, then this means that they were happy with our service, but I never asked them for feedback. The second question, skills and knowledge required, apart from all that subject knowledge, research knowledge, databases, and so on, people came up with what they needed were didactic skills, analytical skills, organizational, social, diplomatic, listening skills. No, nobody wrote communication, but I think this is also included. And then flexibility, nerves of steel, thinking outside the box, and so on and so forth. You see, so these are all things that we need on top of our technical knowledge.
And some of which we've talked about over the last day and a half already. So I came across a paper, by Arjuna from 2016 about pastoral care and librarians. So we have to maintain our attention to individuality and a sense of impartiality and kindness, which is something that we do, I think, all the time certainly when my team meets with researchers, paying attention to individual research projects.
But this is not at all new. In a book written in 1840, we already found that the librarian has to be very polite and answer the more interesting and less interesting questions, deny our own self, and be polite, even if people bother us a lot.
They're difficult, yes.
So I think some of this is still the same. I think we still want to help people, our profession is still to help people, but we no longer want to deny ourselves. I think we want recognition for our work. We have realized that we probably need further training to improve our people skills as well, not just the technical skills. And Eli has learned that they have to set boundaries in order not to do everything for everyone.
So I have to acknowledge the help of a friend and colleague, Kate Benny, who's given me a lot of ideas behind this talk. And we're about to publish a systematic review about total pain. And we'd like to end by asking you. So you tell us, what do you think? What comes to your mind, having heard our talk? What skills do you want more training in? So you can either come up and tell us now, tell us at the breaks, Twitter, any option. We wanted this to be interactive and reflective. Thank you.
Thank you.